right, I'm hoping that filling out that table, you were able to notice some patterns. So take a moment and jot down what you might have noticed when you did the activity with the table. So I'm going to go back to it for just a second, and you look at your paper. Okay, I was hoping that from this activity, you would notice that when you are multiplying numbers, if you look at the exponents, like in this first example, we have a 2 and a 4, and we're multiplying. Both base numbers are 2. And in our answer, the exponent is a 6. On the next one, when we multiplied the negative 3's, we had 2 exponents, a 2 and a 4, and our answer had a 6. On the third one, we were multiplying 7 as our base number, 7 to the third times 7 to the second, and we ended up with 5. So what I was hoping that you would notice is that when you are multiplying and you have the same base number, and you have the same base, you are allowed to add the exponents. Okay, so let me highlight a couple of important vocabulary words. First of all, I want you to take note that this property only works when you're multiplying. So I'm going to highlight that word multiplying. This is called the product of powers property, and again, it only works during multiplication. The next thing that I'm going to highlight is this phrase, same base. It only works when you have the same base. And finally, I'm going to highlight the word add, because when you use this property, you're always going to add the exponents. So I'm going to go back to that first example, which was 2 to the, whoops, let me get off the highlighter for 1 second. Okay, so that first example was 2 to the second power times 2 to the fourth power. So according to the product of powers property, because I have the same base, both of these numbers are 2, and because I am multiplying, I am allowed to add the exponents. So instead of writing it as 2 separate terms, 2 to the second times 2 to the fourth, I can write it as 1. So I have to figure out my new exponent is going to be those original 2 exponents added together. So 2 to the power of 2 plus 4, which is 2 to the 6th power. Okay, so that's the product of powers property. We're going to practice it together on a few examples. All right, so let's do this next one down below. We have 4 to the second times 4 to the third. Before you start to immediately add the exponents, you need to check a couple things. You need to check right away that you have the same base. And we do. Because in both of these numbers, the base is 4. The next thing you need to check is that you're multiplying, and you are. Since we're multiplying, and since I have a base of 4 on both of them, I am allowed to add my exponents. So instead of saying 4 to the second times 4 to the third, I'm going to say 4 to the, and then 2 plus 3. And when I add 2 plus 3, I get 4 to the 5th power. So I simplified that expression using the product of powers property. All right, let's look at an example with variables. So if we have the same base for both of our numbers, we have an A here and we have an A here, and we also have a multiplication expression, which we do because then we have the dot. If that's the case, then you can use the product of powers property, which says that we're going to add the exponents. So my base would be a, because that's my base in the expression. And then my exponent would be m plus n. Since I don't know the value of m or n, I'm just going to leave it like that. A to the power of m plus n. There's nothing else I can do because I don't have any numbers to substitute in for my variables. So I just leave it like that, and that is in simplest terms.